I'm here with Evgen Gunnar. She is Senior Executive Vice President of Finance at Oracle. She is responsible for the financial services oversight and support of their global businesses. And as I've learned, Evgen's original university training was in agricultural science, which is nothing if not a study of how to manage uncertainty. It's the intrinsic to the world of agriculture, which means she's perfect for her job in the present day running finance. Evgen, I want to ask a question, and specifically this question is about supply chain uncertainty. So the world that we're living in right now has handed us one heck of a surprise in the past year in terms of supply chain disruption. Tell us, what do you see happening in terms of going forward with this? Where is this going to go? And also, what does it mean for the world of finance?
It's very hard to predict, right? But what is really for sure, and that's certain, is that the disruption that it caused for the companies. We're all struggling. We at Oracle also is that we have supply chain operations internally. Not only we produce hardware for our own internal use, but we also produce hardware for our customers and for the data centers. So that supply chain obviously impacts us as well as in other company today. So how do you deal with that? For you as well as for your customers, that's really a very critical question to answer today. Obviously, you can do so many different things. For example, from a planning perspective, there is a connected planning capabilities in some of the products that we internally utilize. Try to really understand what are the most critical components that we may be able to use on an ongoing basis that is really a key component for each of your products, and how frequently that are used, and because is it possible to really have some of that additional supply in-house, and how long can you possibly retain that without really having to deal with diverse impact to the bottom line, if you will. But there's also simultaneously, which really impact the logistics as well. So there's a huge transportation issue that we are dealing today. Even if you do have the production, you can't really move the move your inventory from one place to another place, on a timely manner. So most of the time, up until now, most companies really manage their inventory just in time purposes. We learned over the years what is the best way of managing your inventory for the best P&L, best profit. That's just in time inventory management. Now all bets are off. There's no such thing anymore, so you can't possibly do that. So we have to really figure out, how do you manage that inventory to the best of your ability without really having enormous amount of losses in your P&L, but have enough inventory, enough movement to really get that customer satisfaction. It's not going to die overnight. It's going to be a long-term solution, and we're going to learn from this experience. Just like just-in-time inventory, we're going to come up with something else that's going to work for everybody, and that's going to be probably the new norm in the future.
Is this a one-time rejiggering of the economy that we're going through? By one time, it might be 5 years, but is it a one-time singular event that we're going to be able to get out of and achieve some new stasis, or is this going to be ongoing for a while?
Whether this situation is going to continue 2 months, 5 years, I think the only thing that I can probably just say, we have to be ready for that uncertainty. And just in case, you mentioned something about just in case inventory. That's a hard one as well, because you have to really decide on what does that even mean? So if you start kind of really looking at and storing the entire inventory that you would normally carry, Is that right? Is that the answer? Probably not. So we got to kind of think about what is in that pile of inventory that really is tagged as an just-in-case inventory that will make the ball rolling constantly so that your customer satisfaction doesn't diminish, if you will. And again, that connective planning really plays a good role in really looking at all sorts of analytics and data science type of kind of data mining also is very helpful. You can look at the patterns and see from the innovation perspective, from the new innovations, how often that the new innovations are happening, how often the companies are actually coming with new things. So I think this is kind of an interesting dilemma as to how do you deal with this situation. There's little guys are like us individuals, and there's big companies deal with it. It's a hard question to answer. It's very difficult, and it may be here forever, or it may go away tomorrow. I guess we shall wait and see. And unfortunately, it's a global problem. It's not a little small issue that's localized.
Evgen, I want to ask a question about supply chain in the context of data. And especially this is in the context of managing your data in the cloud. So this happens to be an important business area for Oracle. So it makes sense that we try to braid the two. Maybe you can shed some light on this for me. What do good solutions look like with respect to data management in the cloud, given the supply chain uncertainties that we've been discussing?
Data management becomes very, very critical, especially in the subject that we're talking about in supply chain arena. When you have all of the data gathered in a very confirmed platform, in the cloud especially, when you have your supply chain management, all the data, your ERP systems, your EPM, which is the performance management systems, the entire data that is gathered in a very confirmed environment, that conformity and that platform really gives you a lot of visibility to the data on hand, and as well as what to expect. Looking at the information historically and really doing the data mining and doing all of the data analytics, in addition to really having that connected planning and the predictivity in that particular cloud environment where you have all the information available, you can do so many different scenario analysis, looking at what if scenarios. What happens if this particular component is not available for X amount of time versus this component? What happens, if I have much more demand in this particular data center versus that data center? Or it could very well be that my largest customers are going to need more things rather than in cloud. Really, I need to kind of go deliver now immediately. So you can really play what if all of these what if scenarios in that connected planning arena, because you have all the data available to you. Not only that, but you've got all of your inventory that you can play with in that conformed environment, and you can really come up with so many different scenarios that you can really propose as to how do you really manage that unpredictable environment needs, if you will. I talked about a little bit about connected planning and as well as having all of this data available to you on your fingertips, right? So now on top of that, we have so many new emerging technologies that every company is actually talking about, and we have so many of them available to us at Oracle. I actually do utilize some of them internally in my organization. Remember, you have all of this data available to you, all connected, common platform. You have machine learning, you have artificial intelligence, and you've got predictive analytics. You can also do a lot of these platforms. The analytics platform actually enables you to do the data science analytics as well. So, which is not looking at all of this past, but learning from it and really predicting all the needs for the future. And with that, I think this is an incredible topic. So it's really, really wonderful to be here as always, Drew. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's a great opportunity to share some thoughts, and I've learned a lot. Thank you.